Download Whiskey Hell Podcast. We call attention to the mainstream media narratives weekly in hopes that you'll have fun with how ridiculous the news really is. We don't want to change your mind. We just want to give you perspective so that you can choose more wisely and be more aware. Couple that with great craft beer, hilarious stories, deep thoughts, and real conversations. We know you're going to enjoy it. Download Whiskey Hell Podcast anywhere you find outstanding shows.
Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? Hush.
Hello, World Ablaze listeners, and welcome back to, World Ablaze with yours truly, George Fonts. This is episode 26, and before I get started, I want to read an email that we did receive, which is very nice to very nice to get a little bit of appreciation out there. In fact, you are the reason we got this email. This came from Good Pods. Good Pods is it's another app aggregator where you can listen to podcasts, and they have a ranking system. Well, apparently, this show, World Ablaze, is number 2 in the top 100 indie government weekly charts. So we have hit number 2. And beyond that, we are, when it comes to non-independents, by the way, we're talking about going up against the big guys, the big shows on Good Pods. We actually hit number 24 in the top 100 against all other government shows like ours in their monthly charts. And that's going up against everybody. We're talking about all the other big people, not the independents. So that is awesome that we are not even in the top 100, but the top 50. In fact, we're number 24 in those rankings, and we are number 2 in the top 100 indie category. So that is awesome. Appreciate everybody supporting the show, and please continue to share, like, and subscribe. And no words. Thank you. Thank you very much. Today's show is, here's the thing. I'm going to talk about Biden a bit, and I kind of put this off a bit because everybody's talking about it. I know I'm not the only show where you're going to hear this. I already know that. Everybody else, all your other favorite political commentators, talking heads, and political entertainers, as I call them, have already addressed this. They've already said their piece, but the more that I listened to everyone's comments and the more that I see videos coming out, maybe I should address this. And this may not be new. You may have heard some of the same stuff because, honestly, all great minds think alike. Pat myself on the back there. But, no, seriously, we all tend to see things similar. I mean, like, if you're conservative-minded or you're just right of center, you're going to have some of the same views as others. And it's not that we are copying each other or just regurgitating the same talking points or driving the same message. It's just we all notice, if you're smart enough to read and smart enough to have the ability to really put 2 and 2 together, as they say, then you're going to notice these things. And we do have to call into question current President Biden's mental capacity. It's become very clear that something's just not right. And there have been rumors that, are they letting it out and not hiding it anymore because they intend to replace them as the presidential nominee? That is a very good possibility and something that has been talked about, not even recently, but going back probably almost a year now. And the more and more time goes on and the more that we hear about the issues of him being able to even speak coherently, to recall things from his memory that are very important things that he needs to recall, by the way. Not knowing where he is, not knowing how to walk off stage, not knowing where to look, not knowing who to address, getting people's names wrong, countries wrong. It is a major problem. And it does show that America, because he is our leader and the face of America and represents America, it looks to the world as if America has lost its way. It's that America is just stupid. And the rest of the world is losing confidence. And in some cases, it really appears that some of the world is starting to turn their backs on us. And could you blame them? I mean, really, really think about this. Could you blame them? No. Well, in light of everything that's been coming out, good old Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary for the White House, had this in defense in terms of the questioning of the videos that have been circulating about President Biden and his inability to speak. I'm going to go ahead and play that for you right here.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. And instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative win.
All right, I'm going to cut her off. So what is very poor and desperate is her defense. For one, I didn't pull it up, but if you watched the president address troops in Normandy, basically, it was a disaster. It was a disaster, and many veterans, I know veterans, actual veterans who served, who were offended by his address. Now I'm going to play a video from Fox Business Live, and this is their response to Karine Jean-Pierre's press conference, where she was just saying all these videos are manipulated by the far right and taken out of context. So here you go. Here's Fox Business Live.
What we do on this program is we let the tape speak for itself. That is not manipulation. I think we're doing the right thing.
Stuart, good morning. I think you're right. We have not edited that tape. We have not edited any of these tapes. We have not sped them up. We have not changed them. We have not seen any change in multiple angles of the same video moment. It was not a deep fake for the former president to grab the president's arm and pull him. That actually happened in person. So there's nothing fake about it. There's nothing fake about the Italian prime minister grabbing the president as he turned around in Italy and gave a thumbs up to another skydiver. But he pulled away from the group, and the Italian prime minister brought him back in. There is nothing fake about him not dancing at the Juneteenth ceremony at the White House and seeming being frozen. Those are all things that happened. So for the White House to say that this is a deep fake or a cheap fake is really interesting. And I think it's a moment, Stuart, that tells you how concerning the issue of age and competency is in the polls that they're looking at.
So as much as she wants to say that it's just the far right doing far right things and trying to go out of the way to show the president in a bad light, well, listen, all the clips that have been shown are all of live broadcasts. They're all of live broadcasts of events that are actually happening or have happened and have gone on. And how can you defend this? How can you call us a deep fake if we're pulling something straight from a CNN feed or a Fox feed that is live, by the way, or Forbes, for example? It's not manipulated. Okay, the videos are coming out and circulating because the people of America are concerned. They're concerned. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, there is concern. And it's not just the far right talking about this. Okay, there have been we can label leftist media outlets that have also brought this up. And they have called into question whether or not Biden is fit or if he's too old to run again. Should we maybe consider another candidate? Okay, this is nothing that I'm making up. In fact, if you want to do some Google searches, you'll find this. It's not hidden. It is out there. See, the internet doesn't just let things go away. You'll always be able to find it somewhere. So in response to Karine Jean-Pierre, I have some bookmarks from some videos here that, well, really do actually show President Biden at his best, as they say. I'm going to go ahead and play some clips of him actually speaking. Here's the first clip I got most of these from X just because they're, very easy to find on X. But this one from the RNC Research. Let me go ahead and play this one.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure you're going to do
Okay. Was that fake and made up? No, it wasn't. Here's another gem.
There is some movement, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. There's some movement. There's been a response from there's been a response from the opposition, but yes, I'm sorry, from Hamas, but it seems to be a little over the top. We're not sure where it is. There's a continuing negotiation right now.
All right. So in this clip, it's very clear that he's having a problem accessing his brain. He's having a problem connecting words to his mouth. He can't get it out. Is this evidence in and of itself that he's just a stupid person or a bag of mush? Maybe not. But you can see he's having problems. The ability to respond and respond quickly and to quickly access important information is extremely important for someone who holds the position of the President of the United States. If you're accessing information and you access the wrong information at the time that will be very offensive to a very aggressive world leader, that could be trouble. If you can't recall people's names and places, then you're not fit to do the job. If you can't recall sensitive timelines in regard to very important events, you are not fit to do the job. And of course, I have another video here. Now, that previous video I got, I think it was from Mark Stone. It was a repost by Clay Travis. And then here's one that was actually earlier. This was 2022 when he was supposed to be in better shape. And here he is, obviously, even then, having troubles. Here you go.
And we've announced $163 million to begin construction on the canal to restore. Cano, help me with the pronunciation. Martin Pena. That entire ecosystem. And we're going to clean up polluted waters and restore mitigation mangrove habitats.
Again, are we making these things up? I mean, are we intentionally trying to make President Biden look bad? I don't know. I don't think so. These things happened. These were live. These were broadcasted. These weren't edited. They were live. They weren't scripted. They weren't documentaries that were put together, put into the production offices where they sat down and cherry picked which clips made them look better and cut out certain verbiage and words and others. And this is the speech. Okay. And being that my podcast is audio, it's very important for me to play those, but there are videos that if I play them isn't going to matter because it's just basically showing him his confusion in terms of how he acts. Recent video, for example, you can find this on YouTube, where he's at a Democratic convention, for example. I think it was a fundraiser event. And he's addressing the crowd, and it stops. He's up there with Obama, and you can see him literally freeze up. He just suddenly stands there. Literally looks like a stuck mannequin or statue. And while this is going on, Obama notices. And this is very important, what I'm about to say. Obama reaches out, grabs his arm, and guides him off stage. And the whole time they're walking, Obama has his hand on him and guiding him off stage. And when you see the video, it looks like Biden acknowledges the help that he needs. He just seems to submit to it and fall in line. Now that's very scary, because it really goes to show, and maybe even proves the point of what people have been saying. Biden is not in charge. Biden hasn't been in charge. In fact, everything's been run in the background by, more than likely, Obama and his staff. That's the rumor. That's what's been going around. And videos such as the one I just explained, or described actually, really, really don't do much to discredit that opinion of what people think is going on. So in light of everything that's been happening, I mean, no wonder the world is turning their backs. No wonder we have aggressive world powers such as Russia, Putin, going around and starting to, puff up their chests and really show that they're not going to ever back down or show any weakness to the United States. In fact, with everything that's going on, Putin is traveling to further bolster and strengthen his position and his relationships. He just met with Kim Jong-il. I forgot how you really pronounce that correctly, but anyway, North Korean leader, where the North Korean leader himself declared his intent to fully support Russia in their endeavors, especially when it comes to Ukraine, as it is Russia's right. And North Korea is prepared to fully back whatever Russia wants to do. As in troops, military force. Well, that's going on. If you weren't paying attention, Russia's out there in Cuba right now, further bolstering their relationships with Cuba, which is not very far from Florida. And of course, what does Putin do? Send his submarines. I think last I heard it was about 3 or 4 submarines, maybe 3. Go ahead and fact check me on that one. I don't remember. But I do recall it was at least 2, 3 submarines off the coast of Florida. And they aren't moving. They aren't backing down. Of course, the U.S. is saying, they're monitoring the situation. But I don't think Putin would do anything at this point. But he is definitely showing America and the world that he's not afraid of the U.S., especially in the condition we are in now, with a weak leader in Biden, whose cognitive state and mental capacity is in extreme questioning right now. Extreme. I mean extreme. Not he might be sure. No, he needs to go in and get diagnosed. Does he have dementia? I'm not a doctor, so I can't say that for sure, but beyond the videos I played of him not being able to speak, not even knowing where he is, needing to be guided off of stage, freezing up in public, he also has outbursts where it sounds like he's just babbling loudly for no reason. And I didn't pull any of those clips up, but go ahead and do a search and you will find them. You will find them. They're out there. They're out there. So this all leads to the next rumor. The next rumor is that they're planning to replace him. This is why everything that's been going on, this is why you're seeing more clips of Biden looking to be incompetent, that they say they may be replacing him. With who, you say? Maybe the name that keeps getting tossed around is Gavin Newsom. that'll be a horrible decision. As one who lives in California, I can tell you right now, you don't need more California politics infecting the rest of the nation whatsoever. So, in fact, let me circle back to Newsom because I want to say one more thing about Biden's memory. Remember Robert Hur? Okay, this is where I encourage everybody to go listen to our episode number 16. I believe it's 16, where part of the where I discuss whether or not Biden is really in trouble. Because Robert Hur did an entire report with interviews and recorded tapes done with him, business partners, and whatnot about the documents that he took and kept on hand, as well as his other business dealings and side dealings. And in that report, Robert Hur found a lot of evidence to incriminate, but later Robert Hur flipped and decided, well, it's not inconclusive evidence, which I'm not sure how they made that connection or what caused him to flip and retract his pursuit. But Robert Hur did say in the report that he felt that Biden's memory is definitely in question. In fact, I believe he called him an elderly, well-to-do man with a bad memory. Because in questioning, he couldn't recall much. And later on, maybe due to pressures, Robert Hur says, well, if I had to prosecute and had to look at this from the viewpoint of a prosecutor, he would be able to garner sympathy by saying, I'm an old elderly man, I can't recall things, I have a bad memory. So basically you're saying he's unfit to stand trial. We couldn't prosecute or hold Biden accountable for his crimes or things that he's done because his memory's bad or his mental ability is not up to par, as they say. Like, we just give him a pass because he's mentally unfit. That doesn't seem like the way things usually go. In fact, it sounds like a double standard of justice. And I'm not sure why Robert Hur decided that he would no longer pursue things. But in that report, it was all there. And so with that being said, here is Matt Gaetz actually asking Robert Hur, why?
February 8th, the White House question, Mr. President, why did you share classified information with your ghostwriter? The President, I did not share classified information. I did not share it. I guarantee I did not. That's not true, is it, Mr. Hur?
That is inconsistent with the findings based on the evidence in my report.
Yes, it's a lie. It's just what regular people would say, right? Yeah, all right. So the next one. And all the stuff that was in my home was in filing cabinets that were either locked or able to be locked. That wasn't true either, was it?
That was inconsistent with the findings of our investigation.
Another lie, people might say, right? Because what you put in your report was among the places Mr. Biden's lawyers found classified documents in the garage was a damaged open box. So here's what I'm understanding, right? As Mr. Armstrong laid out, you find in your report that the elements of a federal criminal violation are met. But then you apply this senile cooperator theory that because Joe Biden cooperated and the elevator doesn't go to the top floor, you don't think you get a conviction. And I actually think you get to the right answer in that. I don't think Biden should have been charged. Don't think Trump should have been charged. But under the senile cooperator theory, isn't it frustrating that Biden continues to go out and lie about the basic facts of the report that lay out a federal criminal violation?
Interesting term, senile cooperator theory. So because he's senile, that and given all the evidence that was found against Biden in this report, but because he's considered senile, that he gets a pass because he's senile. Because he doesn't have the mental capacity, mental faculty to be able to answer for himself and be held responsible for his actions. Now, tell me how that's not a double standard of justice, because if it was any other person, any other citizen on the street, I guarantee they would be going after you and me and your friends for every single thing that they found to be true in regards to Robert Hur's report and how it relates to Biden. Replace Biden's name with your name and tell me how you wouldn't feel that you would be going to jail. Now, moving on from Biden just a bit, because I want to circle back to where I left off. I was about to talk about Gavin Newsom. There has been talks of Gavin Newsom taking over as the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. And it's not something that is crazy to say, because not that long ago, if you recall, he was kind of doing a mini presidential tour. A governor going around to other states debating other governors, which was very, very strange. Not sure what was behind that. And every time he was questioned, he would always deny that, oh no, I'm not going to run for president. That's not going to happen. And I hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't, because he's a slick politician, if anything, a very slick politician. Let me highlight some of Gavin Newsom's greatest hits and achievements. In California, we go from $100 billion surplus to, last I checked, was somewhere to be a $70 billion deficit and climbing. There was also $24 billion of money that they couldn't account for that was supposedly used to fund the problems we have with our homeless issues in California. So it was supposed to be a program that was there to fix a homeless issue we have and help the homeless. But yet all $24 billion that went into that program has accounted for nothing, because absolutely nothing has been done, nothing is fixed, and they can't even track where all the money went. It's as if it just never existed. So how is it? And I can go way deeper on Gavin. He's been a subject of mine before. He's been a subject of mine and my brother, especially on his show, and also together on our other podcast we have, which is Random Thoughts with Manuel and George. So we've addressed Gavin many times, and those are only a couple of things. Like, you know what? Let me throw another one in there: the high-speed rail, the never-ending project that has never finished. To this day is still being built, where there was also a mishandling of money and funds paid to, I couldn't tell you how many consultants and contractors. All this money spent that to this day we have nothing to show for it. So how is it that America would back this guy? Well, because he's a Democrat, and Democrats will stick with Democrats. But if you look at his achievements and accomplishments, he has done nothing but run California into the ground and run people out of California. He's chasing people down that leave California by trying to tax them and chasing them down to the states where they moved to try to wring more money out of them, even though they no longer reside in California. He's chasing businesses out of California because it's no longer profitable or easy for businesses to conduct actual business in California. Many of the bigger companies are starting to move out. We have a housing crisis here where everything, I just heard a report not long ago that said the average, bear with me, the average cost of homes in California will soon be $1 million. That's an average, not a situation of, well, this 5,000 square foot house in this nice area is 1 million. And then you go to another neighborhood and you could buy a house for 400,000 or 300. No. They're saying the average price of a house in California will now soon be $1 million. Gavin Newsom is also trying to amend our Constitution to where he can make it harder for you to own a gun. So without our guns, the government has no fear of us. And this is something that Gavin Newsom is also behind. Of course, he's sneaking this under the guise of, well, gun deaths have risen, and it's just sad how many people are being killed in mass shootings. And, no one's going to disagree or argue against that. And that's why he's trying to use that as his talking point argument to be able to restrict ownership of guns in the U.S. But that's really cherry picking the argument, the topics of the argument, or the talking points to be able to get your way there, Gavin. I'm just saying, if you think that Trump's a dictator or that we have issues with the Democratic Party now as being a tyranny or tyrannical government, just wait till someone like Gavin gets into office. Because if that happens, we're all screwed. Everything that you think is great about America will be stripped away and taken from you, just as it's been happening in California. But with all that being said, it looks like that could be the case. There's rumors of him running with Michelle Obama. There's even been rumors of Michelle Obama coming in and taking over as a female presidential candidate. Whatever the case, it looks like Biden may no longer be the guy. I think they realize that they can no longer hide his mental ineptitude, his inability to function, and the fact that he has lost face and all respect from all leaders of the world. He makes us look weak. And I have to say that America right now feels weak because of him. Now, with all that being said, you can form your own opinions about Biden and what you think about what's going on. But the evidence is out there. The evidence is clear. He's been given a pass many times because of his mental faculty. Somehow he's not fit to stand trial for his crimes, yet he's fit to run the country of the United States, where he has access to the nuclear codes, where he could very easily, with a mental fart, start World War III? Really? That's okay? Look, the only way this is going to change is if everybody comes out to vote and make the change. And I don't even want to hear it anymore. You can cry about Trump all you want, but he is the better option at this point. And what we need is the better option to start turning this thing around. Trump gets elected, give him his 4 years. After that, vote for whoever you want. But right at this moment, I'm telling you, Biden isn't the answer. I will now leave you with this 5-minute clip of Biden babbling, which I found on Trump War Room on X. And I want to crack a beer and enjoy this. And as usual, thanks for your support. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Anyway, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. I was just thinking, anyway, I just, look, I mean, Putin's kleptocracy, yeah. It was in January, after being elected. The late January, early February. He said, it's not, we lead, not just, well, I won't go into it. Here's what drives the driver in the states that are affected. Here's what you can do, the drivers. For two reasons. One, it's an impact that decades been making, because inaction was there was inaction with the Department of from Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa. The best way to get something done, if you hold near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway. The idea that and Joan Shingang, I'm going to pronounce Shanga. But there's, there to be, beginning this effort, and I want you to know that I want to thank you as well for. But the nature, not. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him, look, a solid meeting with the Los Angeles and what am I doing here? From the excuse me, they also increase corporate growth. They make a very good point. Here's the deal. $159 billion less. My plan is to make concrete. I know President, excuse me, the leading tech companies like Anthropic, and I'm going to mispronounce. I'm not going to try. The beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. By the end of a governing crisis, it's time to end these constant. Anyway, it'll be good. Because that's why we can't let. We cannot let this election be one where the same man who was president 4 years ago. I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway, I just think that Florida Small Business Winner Award winner, or Business Week winner. Now, it doesn't involve our institution. About the former Prime Minister. Like to take baths up that. Anyway, they overruled that to reinstate the 32nd freestanding, have 30 free. I'm just following my orders here.